Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good afternoon. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we are so grateful to come into your presence once again this afternoon as we honor all Rotarians for the service and sacrifice of doing your work throughout the city. We just pray that you continue to be a blessing upon this organization. We want to pray for the speaker this afternoon. And we want to pray that we are all on one accord as we continue to do the work which you have called us to do. And now let us repeat the four-way test.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you. Amen. You may be seated. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you, Stephanie and Janet. Now to welcome our guests and prospective members, Rob Hageman.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have a wonderful list of guests, and while there are so many of them, if you would please, when I call your name, stand up, and Rotarians, please hold your applause until everyone has been read, because there again is quite a few to hear Jon speak. We're going to start with Michael Bales from U.S. Bank, guest of Rotarian Ali Hussein. We then have Mark Bachnecht, if I'm saying that correctly, with First Commonwealth, a guest of Andrea Tall. We have Bobby Bernard with U.S. Bank, guest again, Ali Hussein. We have Lonnie Bowling Jr. We have Henry Britt, who is a student and the grandson of Jim Young. We have Julie Broadwell with U.S. Bank, another guest of Ali Hussein. We have Daryl Brock, who is a guest of Rotarian Pete Armstrong. We have Leslie Bryant, who is a guest of Pat Neal Miller. We have Emil Chamas with Town Money Saver, who is a guest of Michael Schatzman. We have Maribel Cortez with GE Aerospace, who is also a guest of Michael Schatzman. We have Terry Dean, who is retired from P&G and a guest of Steve King. We have Bobby Dillon, who is a guest of our speaker, Jon Moeller. We have Tom Glenn, also a guest of our speaker, Jon Moeller. We have Scott Hall, who is our sponsor with Under the Weather, who is a guest of Kelly Mahan. We have Bridget Hodgett, who is a guest of Jon Moeller. We have Nancy Kaninger, who is Jim's fiance and the guest of Jim Crowley. We have Lisa Lickert with EMI Network, who is a guest of Doug Bolton. We have Chris Moyer with Anthem, who is a guest of Pete Armstrong. We have Linnea Nadell, who is a guest of Laurie Leonard. We have Pam Rincone with Big Ash Brewing, who is a guest of Michael Schatzman. We have Pete Schultz, who is a guest of our speaker, Jon Moeller. We have Dave Sense with LTD Landscapes, who is a guest of Michael Schatzman. We have Dave Taggart with E&J Trailer, who is a guest of Aaron Foki. We have Eric Thomas with Benchmark Terminals, who is a guest of Anthony Ricciardi. We have Wally Zankin with U.S. Bank, a guest of Ali Hussein. And last but certainly not least, we have Sean Parker with Main Street Ventures, who is a guest of the man of the day, Ali Hussein.
Thank you, Rob. Welcome, guests. We hope you come back. We hope you join us in service. We meet here every Thursday, but we go out around the city to do service. Now a word from our meeting sponsor, Director Kelly Mahan with Under the Weather.
Thank you, President Steve. Quick show of hands here in the audience. How many of you have had to sit outside at your children or grandchildren's game in yucky, lousy weather? All right, me too. That's the reason why my husband invented the first portable, personal pop-up weather pod in 2010. Today, Under the Weather carries 100 plus styles and colors of pods, chairs, and accessories, and they're sold on our website, also on Amazon, and Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart, Academy Sports, Dunham, Shields, and a host of others. That first pod took several years to perfect, but it is our continuous commitment to innovation that's made us the category leader, and I might mention that we created that category with the invention of this pod, and it's what truly sets our company apart from the competition today. Speaking of innovation, we have outside in the lobby today a pod that we literally filed the patent for yesterday, our law firm did, and it's our largest pod to date. There's 3 different sizes of this particular pod. It's going to launch Friday on Amazon and also on our website. And next week we have a second pod that we're introducing. Same thing, patent hasn't yet been applied for, so we can't launch it yet. It's a 6-panel. It's an all-clear dome pod. It's huge. You can actually fit tables and chairs inside of it. So that's bringing us to a whole new target audience, which is really exciting for the company. So now it's official. Nobody here in this room ever has an excuse again to complain about freezing on the sidelines at an outdoor event. You know where to find me, and you know where to find Under the Weather pods. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for sponsoring the event, this meeting. Under the Weather is clearly really creative. I also want to thank Kelly for serving as a director on the board. We are enriched by your creative thoughts. Thank you so much for making our board and our club better, Kelly. Rotary Youth Exchange is back, and for an exciting introduction, Chair Mario Dominguez. Mario.
Thank you, President Steve. First, before obviously introduce Maddie, I don't want to steal her thunder. I really want to thank Janet for all your effort in putting this together. If it wasn't for you, she wouldn't be here. So thank you, Janet. And Joshua, thank you so much too for helping us, and obviously Maddie's mom, Laura, as well. So with that, I'll introduce you, Maddie. She's our youth exchange student going to Ecuador. So, Maddie.
All right, so my name is Maddie. I'm in 11th grade in Wentwoods High School. So I'm also going to Ecuador. In my school, we have a program called the Academy of Global Studies. This program focuses on producing global citizens by incorporating global competence into all aspects of the high school students' careers. We have an extra class which is called Zero Bell, where each year we learn about different issues going on in the world, and we do different activities. So for example, during my sophomore year, we did Model UN, where we were given a topic, we studied our country's stance on this topic, and then we debated and came up with possible issues for this topic. So this program also offers a trip within the U.S. each year. So freshmen go to Detroit, Michigan, sophomores go to New York City, juniors go to Washington, D.C., and seniors go to Chicago. Unfortunately, because of COVID, I wasn't able to go to my first 2 trips, but I will be taking my Washington, D.C. trip at the end of this year, which I am very excited for. And then So Joshua Omstich, which is right there, he is the coordinator of this program, and I happened to learn about Rotary Youth Exchange through him, which I'm very grateful for, because I wouldn't be able to do this without him, everybody within this program, and my sponsors, so thank you all. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about why Rotary Youth Exchange is important to me and what I want to learn in Ecuador. So I'm going to say this in Spanish. I'm still learning Spanish, so bear with me. So, durante mi tiempo en Ecuador, me gustaría aprender muchas cosas. Quiero aprender sobre la gente, la comida, cómo hablar con fluidez en español, cómo ser independiente, cómo es la escuela, cómo es vivir en Ecuador y muchas más. También quiero volverme más confiada y probar cosas nuevas. Para mí es importante participar en Rotary Youth Exchange por muchas razones. Número 1, puedo entender la cultura de otros países y no solo de los Estados Unidos. Número 2, podemos abrazar nuestras diferencias. Y número 3, puedo conocer a la gente de países diferentes. Hacer amigos alrededor del mundo. Hay mucho más que podría decir, pero es difícil en español. Muchas gracias por escucharme. Thank you.
Going to high school is scary enough, but going to high school in another language. Maddie, thank you for being our brave Rotary Youth Exchange ambassador to Ecuador. We're so excited to have Youth Exchange back and so excited to have you as our Youth Exchange representative of Cincinnati. All right, a few announcements. Happy birthdays. Please wish a happy birthday to the following members: Owen and David and Brent and Steve. I think, Brent, you're here. Hey, happy birthday, Brent. Now, I didn't mention someone whose birthday is tomorrow, someone who is near and dear to all our hearts, and someone who is actually celebrating a very special birthday tomorrow. Sarah Pattison, will you come up here for just a minute? Sarah Pattison is our executive director, who we love and treasure. And Sarah Pattison is celebrating her 39th birthday again. And we want to... Oh, you wear it really well, Sarah. Why don't you step up to the front of the stage here? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sarah. Happy birthday to you. Hey, one more picture. Sarah said, no fuss. I don't want any fuss. And I said, it's your 40th birthday. There'll be no fuss. You have to wear that the rest of the day, Sarah. Family of Rotary. Congratulations to corporate Rotarian Bob Will on grandbaby number 3. Daughter Christina and granddaughter Emery are both healthy and doing great. Please keep Rotarian Dan Long's wife, Lisa, in your thoughts and prayers as she is experiencing some health issues. Dan, our thoughts and prayers are with Lisa. Please send them back to her on our behalf. Congratulations to Rotarian Jim Crowley on his engagement to Nancy Kenninger. Probably a good idea to get that in before opening day, right, Jim? Congratulations, Jim and Nancy. Split the pot. Split the pot. 25% of this pot goes to the winner. Today's winner is $64. 25% of this pot goes into the accumulating pot, which is up to $1,528. John, would you do the honors and pick a purple ticket for me? Thank you, sir. All right, it is a purple ticket. Last 3 digits are 332. 332, $64 plus a chance at the accumulating pot. You need to be a Cincinnati Rotarian to draw for the Queen of Hearts. Is that Jim Nyhard? All right, Jim. All right. Come on, Jim. Looking for the Queen of Hearts. Hey. So close, Jim. So close. Just this close. All right, congratulations are in order to the Rotary Club of Cincinnati Bowlers. Who was there on Friday night last week? Here you go. Those are those are winners. Club 17 defeated Dayton squad with room to spare last Friday night at Stone Lanes. Jeff Weir and Ed Mathis led the effort with 68 and 91 pins over their average. Thanks to Gary Kendall and Dave Lucky, who have organized this 56-year tradition of bowling against Dayton for fun, fellowship, and friendly competition. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Dave. And thank you, bowlers, for bringing home the trophy. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Dayton crew hand that beautiful trophy over. It's fun to see the look in their eye. This Saturday, March 11th, is our hands-on service project at Matthew 25 Ministries from 9 to 11. We will help sort donated items. There is still room to participate. Details are on DACDB or see Jody or Ed DeVoid. Lastly, do not forget to sign up for the Rotary FC Cincinnati game. This is a April 22nd event against the Portland Timbers, but here's the catch. All the tickets must be purchased by March 30th. This is kind of antithetical to Rotary, right? We're just really not used to this, so we've got this March 30th deadline. If you'd like to be part of this family-friendly, fun event, look on DACDB and get your tickets there. All right. At this point, I'd like to turn the program over to Al Conscious to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, President Steve. Very grateful to have Jon Moeller here. Jon's a friend and a part-time golfing buddy. He is in the long line of succession of speakers that we've had here from P&G, including Dave Taylor, A.G. Lafley, John Pepper, and so on. So we're very happy he's continuing the tradition. P&G, as you know, is very proud of a lot of their technology that they've pioneered over the years, including a lot of firsts. But I wanted to make sure that Jon knows that technically Moses was the first guy with the tablet, and he did download from the cloud, so. Jon has been an integral part of P&G's leadership team for over 2 decades. Prior to becoming CEO, he was Chief Operating Officer and had P&L responsibility for P&G's enterprise markets, which include India, Mideast, Africa, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, and so on. He also led company efforts in infotech, global research, marketing, distribution, and several other areas. And Jon has been at the forefront of P&G's leadership for about 20 years. So we are very happy to have him, and please welcome Jon Moeller.
Thanks, Al, and good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate you inviting me to speak with you. The Rotary Club of Cincinnati is a valued member of our greater Cincinnati community, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. In 2017, my predecessor, David Taylor, spoke to you about the transformation P&G was at that time in the middle of. I thought I'd spend our time together sharing our progress on that journey and the choices we've made to get to where we are now. I want to start with our objective: balanced growth and value creation, top line, bottom line, and cash. To deliver balanced growth and value creation, we're focused on these 5 strategic choices: a portfolio of daily use products where performance plays a significant role in driving brand choice; superiority, product package, communication, go-to-market, and value; a continued focus on productivity, constructive disruption, and a highly efficient and effective organization structure. Back in 2012, we started our work to make productivity as integral a part of P&G's DNA as innovation. We doubled down on this strategy when we announced our second 5-year, $10 billion cost savings program in 2017. As a result, we're a very different company than we were then. We've reduced the number of manufacturing sites by 20% and the number of manufacturing platforms by 50%. We reduced P&G roles by 23% on an apples-to-apples basis, including divestitures down nearly 30%. We reduced the number of advertising, public relations, and other agencies supporting the business by 60%. We reduced the number of office buildings and research and development centers by 65% and 30% respectively. Today, productivity is built in to our operating model and is an ongoing part of our strategy in every area of the business. We've embraced ongoing productivity as how we continue to strengthen the long-term health and competitiveness of our brands, manage through the short-term significant cost increases, and how we deliver our objective of balanced top and line growth, including margin expansion. We worked for several years to focus the company's portfolio on faster-growing, more profitable, daily use categories where performance plays a significant role in brand choice. We went from about 170 brands in 16 categories to about 65 brands in 10 categories. We divested about a third of our categories that were not a good fit with our strengths or attractive from a value creation standpoint. We focused our investment and resources on the categories that best leverage P&G strengths: consumer understanding, branding, product and package innovation, and our go-to-market capabilities, much more fully than the businesses that we divested. Within the remaining 10 categories, we've simplified and strengthened significantly. Across the board, we have fewer and much stronger brands, fewer, more cost-efficient manufacturing platforms. In 2017, we first discussed our work to set a much higher bar for measuring the success of our innovation and execution across products, packaging, brand communication, retail execution, and value. We assessed that only about 30% of our portfolio was superior across those vectors. We're now at about 80%. Superior offerings delivered with superior execution drive market growth. Leading category growth with superior offerings mathematically builds market share and builds business for our retail partners. We continue to raise the bar on all 5 vectors of superiority in all price tiers where we compete. In 2016, we first discussed tests we were doing on a new approach to our organization design, moving from what I liked to call the thicket, 16 business units, 6 market development organizations with staffing and responsibilities that overlapped each other, and heavily staffed function organization charged with helping the categories and markets, people moving frequently between businesses, markets, and functions. The thicket was suffocating, lots of hiding places in the thicket, very low accountability, not a fun place to work. We initially moved from that to a structure of end-to-end and freedom within a framework markets. We tested giving our product categories more end-to-end decision-making and responsibility in our 2 largest markets, the US and China. In smaller countries, we tested what we called freedom within a framework. The intent was for these markets to execute within predefined strategies to deliver the plans set by the categories. We refined our approach and announced the new focus and enterprise market design in November 2018. Our objective was to create a much more engaged, agile, and accountable organization. The best proof that this organization design is working is the acceleration of growth. Sales in the US, our largest and most profitable market, strengthened as we refined the design, increasing from an average of 2% 3 years prior to completing the design change to 8% in the 3 years since. Sales in Greater China went from negative to high single or low double digits before the COVID-related market slowdown. At the same time, we grew enterprise markets at or ahead of the balance of the company, including growing share. And we did all of this profitably, building margins despite significant foreign exchange headwinds. This structure and its resulting organizational speed and focus has also allowed us to manage through the challenges and headwinds we're currently experiencing. We continue to believe that this structure is the best way to navigate successfully through the increasingly dynamic world we live in. Finally, in 2018, we first talked about the need to lead constructive disruption. This is particularly important in our highly dynamic and competitive industry that operates in a highly dynamic retail and media environment and is facing highly dynamic expectations from consumers and other stakeholders. A mindset of constructive disruption is even more important in this challenging environment that we find ourselves now. So, how did all these changes pay off? Well, over the prior 4 fiscal years, the organization has added over $13 billion in annual sales, putting P&G in the 87th percentile of the S&P 500 in terms of dollar sales growth. And over those same 4 years, going back to balance, we generated nearly $5 billion in additional profit, putting P&G in the 92nd percentile of the S&P 500 in terms of dollar profit growth. As of the end of last fiscal year, we were the 12th most valuable U.S. publicly traded company and the 16th most valuable publicly traded company in the world, based on market capitalization. We've created a company that has demonstrated it can drive strong market growth, sales growth, share growth, earnings growth, and cash flow. None of this is a reason to rest, but it is a reason we're confident we can continue to improve. All pieces of our integrated strategy are necessary for success. Portfolio of daily use products where performance plays a significant role in driving brand choice, superiority, product, package, communication, go-to-market, and value, productivity to fund and build margins, constructive disruption, and a highly efficient and effective organization structure. These are not independent strategic choices. They reinforce and build on each other, and when executed well, they lead to balanced top and bottom line growth and value creation. To further strengthen our integrated strategies, there are 4 areas we've identified where we need to be even more intentional and deliberate: supply, environmental sustainability, digital acumen, and a superior employee value proposition. First, supply. Historically, our supply chain has been a competitive advantage for us, and we're investing to significantly strengthen this advantage and be better positioned to handle larger capacity and higher ranges of demand volatility. We're reorienting our supply chain to one that provides greater agility, flexibility, scalability, transparency, and resilience, which is needed to react to and even anticipate both the opportunities and the challenges ahead. We're calling this Supply 3.0, the next generation of supply chain, an end-to-end, synchronized, sustainable, and resilient supply chain amplified by data analytics and enabled by an organization that is at the leading edge of transformation, mastery, and leadership. Environmental sustainability is becoming ever more critical. Expectations from consumers, customers, business partners, governments, shareholders, stakeholders, and society in general are rising. We've integrated sustainability into our superiority strategy across product, package, communication, go-to-market, consumer, and retail value. This means delivering irresistibly superior offerings for consumers that are better for the environment. An obvious example is cold water washing with Tide and Ariel. When people turn their wash cycles to cold, they can save up to 90% of the energy used on every load of laundry while saving money. They also get greater satisfaction because their colors look brighter and their clothes last longer. Better for the consumer, importantly, better for our planet. Sustainability can be a driver of superiority, and by harnessing the power of game-changing innovation, we can develop products that deliver irresistible superiority in a sustainable way, making it easier for people to be more sustainable without trade-offs in product performance or convenience, all while improving the environment and ultimately creating more value for consumers. The third focus area is strengthening our digital acumen to drive consumer and customer preference, reduce cost, and enable rapid and efficient decision-making. We're getting more intentional in building our digital acumen across the entire value chain and how we engage with consumers, how we innovate, how we go to market, and how we operate our business. There is significant opportunity in each of these areas. There is great promise in our ability to truly integrate digital tools into every aspect of our work. If we do this well, it will lead to more opportunities to focus on the highest order work, work that serves consumers, customers, employees, society, and share owners. The fourth and last focus area is a superior employee value equation. We serve consumers through a portfolio of superior brands. How can we, on a sustainable basis, deliver superior products, packaging, communication, retail execution, and value without superior talent? And how are we going to attract, develop, and retain superior talent if we don't have a superior value proposition? A superior employee value equation for all gender identities, races, ethnicities, sexual orientations, ages, and abilities for all roles to ensure we continue to attract, retain, and develop the best talent. By definition, this proposition must include equality. To deliver a superior employee value equation, there must be something in it for everyone. These four areas, supply, environmental sustainability, digital acumen, and our employee value equation, are not new or separate strategies. They're necessary elements in continuing to build superiority and reducing costs to enable investment and value creation in strengthening our organization. They're part of the constructive disruption we must continue to lead. As I said at the beginning, our goal was balanced growth, but in the ever more complex world we live in, it's not just top and bottom line that must be balanced. We must endeavor to balance the needs of an increasing number of constituents, or we're unlikely to deliver against the needs of any of them. Consumer, customer, employee, society, and share owner value needs must each be met. There is no choice to make here. There is no opt-out. Servicing and balancing the needs of each of these constituents will not be easy, but it's necessary, and those that do it best, as I expect we will, should thrive. Better be balanced, top line, bottom line, and effective in serving a growing number of constituents. That's one reason I agreed to chair the Cincinnati Futures Commission, an independent group of businesses and community leaders whose goal is to develop recommendations that lay the foundation of economic growth and fiscal sustainability for the city of Cincinnati for the next decade. This is a tremendous opportunity to contribute to the future of this great city, which has been my home for almost 35 years now. To wrap up, our best path forward is to stay focused on executing the integrated strategies I've outlined that have enabled strong results over the past 4 years and are the foundation for balanced growth and value creation. We're stepping forward, not back, stepping forward to serve consumers, customers, each other, society, and share owners. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions. Yeah. It's different all across the world. In most parts of the world, we're back to 70 to 80% of people in the office on any given day. In the United States and in Cincinnati, it's about 50-50, but it continues to inch up. And the great news is we have technologies available to us, all companies do, that make providing that flexibility and some choice a practical reality. And so people generally, work teams decide what works best for them in terms of where they want to work on any given day, and we all work together to get the job done, and so far it's working.
Doug.
Yes?
Good morning.
So when I think about sustainability in general, and I'm very excited about the possibilities that are ahead of us. There are many challenges, but I'm very excited about the possibilities. I think of it in three different buckets, if you will. The first is reducing the size of our footprint as we manufacture and distribute products. I was just with our supply team this morning, and to date, since we started measuring in 2010, we've been able to reduce our emissions by 57%. Our goal is obviously much higher than that as we go forward. The second opportunity, which I referenced indirectly in my comments, is the opportunity to enable our consumers to reduce their footprint. Things like cold water washing, things like just educating on automatic dishwashing. The basic intuition or belief is that you use more water with a dishwater than you would if you hand wash dishes. And the opposite is true. So you use 4 gallons of water every 2 minutes as you're hand washing dishes. An entire cycle in an automatic dishwasher uses 4 gallons. So it actually uses less water. The third area, an area I'm really excited about, is innovating to identify opportunities to meet the world's challenges that span industries, so they have much greater impact than our own operations. So things like polyethylene and polypropylene recycling. Polyethylene is recycled today, except the mechanical process doesn't remove pigment or odor, and so you're left with you've seen those gray park benches probably around the city. That's the byproduct of that. We now have technology that removes pigment, removes odor. We can't afford to scale that ourselves, so we've licensed that technology to a company called PureCycle, who's currently building recycling operations. They will make that material available not only to our competitors, but to other industries, the auto parts industry, the medical devices industry, et cetera. Polyethylene, think of films. We now have a process that will do the same thing there, and we're in the middle of commercializing that and industrializing that with a partner. Digital watermarks that allow recycling centers to automatically sort incoming material, which is very labor intensive today and very expensive, and therefore not a lot of it gets done. So long answer, but those are some of the things that I'm excited about and that we're working on. The developing market dynamic with plastics and other pollutants. I'm, for right or for wrong, I'm the vice chairman of an organization called Alliance to End Plastic Waste that is working through the value chain all the way with the petrocomplex and the petroleum producers to collection agencies that are collecting waste, to recycling, and then to manufacturers who will use that recycled product. So we're spending a lot of time on sustainability.
Talk a little bit about inflation. How do you balance out saving unit sales versus margins? And if you find consumers do shift down to private label and so forth, do you ever think of that?
So far, if I look at our top line growth rate, sales, prior to the pandemic, we were growing at 6%. During the pandemic, we grew 6%. Fiscal year to date, post-pandemic, we're growing 6%. So there hasn't been a significant impact. We've tried to, when I talked about the vectors of superiority, one of them is value. So we try to do a couple things. One is when we do have to increase prices, we try to combine that with innovation so that the holistic value proposition, the combination of performance and price, efficacy, and my ability to meet my family's needs improves versus decreases. And as a result, if you look at our market shares, we've held up very well because we're, again, working to very deliberately and diligently increase value for consumers as we necessarily have to price. Jay Powell talked yesterday, the Fed chairman, about asking companies not to price as a way to reduce the impacts of inflation and increase the ability to continue to increase wages for workers. And we're working hard to reduce the amount of pricing that we need to take. But when you get to a situation where you have negative gross margins, it's just not a sustainable proposition. And here I want to give a lot of credit to our organization. What they've done is absolutely incredible. If you look at the last 2 years, the impact of commodity inflation, foreign exchange, transportation costs has taken out 50% of our bottom line. Gone. And that organization has recovered all of it. So last year we grew earnings per share 3%. This year we're forecasting to grow earnings per share modestly. And very, very importantly, we have increased, if anything, our investments in innovation so that we can keep that top line that we talked about growing and continue to grow markets and therefore market share. So I apologize again for a long-winded answer, but that's kind of how we're thinking about it.
So my question is, what outreach is there for high schools and the ability for high schools to partner with P&G to give feedback on products, or to maybe have a competition around how to make products more sustainable? If you could touch on what opportunities exist.
Our relationship with educational institutions, including high schools, is incredibly important because that's the source of not only ideas and inspiration, but talent. And we're a promote from within company generally. And so that relationship with those institutions and students is very important, not just now, but it's our future, 10 years, 20 years from now. And we have a number of relationships, including internships with high school students, where they can gain experience and gain an understanding if this is something that they'd like to spend time doing later in their lives. And we can benefit from exactly the things that you described.
Given your desire to attract talent to Procter Gamble, how do you partner with the city organizations around the greater Cincinnati in particular to make this an attractive place to live?
That's a very important endeavor, and it's exactly why I agreed to chair the Cincinnati Futures Commission, whose job is exactly that. We have relationships with, we're the largest donor to United Way, we're the largest donor to ArtsWave. We believe strongly in working with the communities in which we live and work to create exactly that dynamic that you described. And if we aren't successful in doing that, it becomes pretty hard to attract and retain top talent. Yes.
Proud former P&G intern and alumni. My question is, given all of your years of leadership, has anything surprised you since being CEO versus those other years?
So, has anything surprised me as CEO? I worked for 4 different CEOs before becoming CEO, so I had a fairly good understanding of what was involved. But I think the one thing that struck me the most, I don't know why I didn't think about this before, when things go right, all the credit, as it rightly should, goes to the organization. You got the rest of that. It took me a while to catch on. In the back?
You are a local company which is also global. What is can you talk more about your global markets and also the competition, for example, Nestle and other companies?
This is an important question on an important point. But let me just start. Sorry. The question was how we think about. Let me just give an answer, and you'll get the question. How do we balance global and local was essentially the question, and how do we stay relevant in, for example, developing markets in other parts of the world. I want to start that answer right here in the United States. The next generation, our future, Gen Z, is by definition multicultural. And if we can't serve them effectively with meeting the needs that are relevant for them, we lose, and maybe worse than that. And the only way that I think that we can serve them effectively, or certainly optimally, is to be represented by them, to ensure that we have team members who come from those communities and can help us best serve, develop products that are more relevant, communicate in ways that are relevant and powerful. And that same dynamic extends to the globe. So if you look at our leadership team, the top 35 people, I'll get this number wrong, but it's more than 50% that were born outside the United States. So this concept of diversity and inclusion, aside from the fact that it typically produces better ideation and better innovation, it's just required in order to serve the populations we serve. So thank you for asking that question. Yeah.
There's a huge market in this country for over-the-counter supplements, people with nutrition or with mental cognition or whatever. Is this an area that Procter Gamble might someday explore getting into?
It's an area we're in. We have a couple lines of business within what we call our personal health care business. We have a product, for example, called Align, which is a probiotic that helps with GI, digestion, and health. We have a product called Metamucil, which has been around for 100 years, which has several endpoint benefits in terms of sugar control, in terms of fiber, and as a result, helping with obesity. So those are just two examples, but yes, it's a very, if you think about the strategic screen that I talked about before, daily use categories where performance drives brand choice, it fits right in there. Yeah.
Do you see future growth coming more internally or through acquisition?
So the question was, do we see future growth coming internally or acquisitions or both? All of our planning is done on an organic, i.e. internal basis. So we don't assume any growth from acquisitions. Where that doesn't mean we don't look at acquisitions, but those are opportunistic and inherently probabilistic in nature. And so all of our business teams are held to a standard of delivering their goals through internal growth. Yeah.
Any interesting trends you're seeing in terms of consumer preferences that cause you to adjust your strategy? Maybe it's something that surprised you?
Every day. And that's part of our job is to wake up each morning and put both feet on the floor, optimize what's in front of us. The right answer today may not have been the right answer yesterday, and the right answer yesterday might not be the right answer today. So an example, rather than just talk conceptually, think about the change in consumer shopping habits as we went through COVID. And if you think those changes are significant here, you should see them in China, where over 50% of the business in our categories is now done in an online context, where it's increasingly moving to what's called social media. And so we have to be, that's one of the things I talk to our board about all the time. They say, they ask if we, where's that coming from? They ask if we need if we need a new strategy to succeed in today's world, given that the world is changing so fast. And that's one of the things I love about our strategy. And I tell them, no, our strategy is inherently dynamic because it requires us to be superior through a lens that's defined by consumers and customers every day against a changing competitive landscape. So agility is something that we prize. I have these things that I call the physical laws of the economic universe, and one of them is that complacency kills. Yes?
When P&G enters a new international market, do you always have to change the name of the product, and do you also have to change the formulation of the product to better deal with that?
We look at both. We more typically have to modify the formulation. I'll give you an example. Laundry products. You'd say, well, laundry is laundry. Well, no. Water conditions, hard water, soft water, the minerals that are in a hard water sample are very different around the world. And so we have to formulate to ensure that the chemistry works well in those environments. The name is very rarely changed. This may change over time, back to your question, but in many of our categories, there's a cachet associated with a Western name. So if you go into any department store in Asia, you'll see not only our brands, but Shiseido's brands, L'Oreal's brands, all labeled in English, which has always amazed me. So we change product more than we do brand name, but we try to be very intentional in ensuring that this is not just, there is no such thing as a global consumer, which kind of gets to your point. And we need to be sure that we're relevant and superior for each of them. Yeah.
You mentioned working in China. Could you give us more color on what's it like in the marketplace, working with the government?
So I'm a fossil. I worked in China in the mid-90s. So my knowledge of, kind of guttural knowledge of working in that context is dated. Also, none of us from the West have been there in 3 years. I'm very excited. I'm going back for 10 days the week after next. But I've always found things, it differs depending on what industry you're in. I don't think, we've had a very good relationship. I had the ambassador from China. I hosted him here in Cincinnati in the fall. He's now the new foreign minister. And he started his introduction by saying, my family wakes up to your brands, they go to sleep with your brands are Chinese. Beautiful.
One more question.
Yes?
You mentioned twice about washing your clothes in cold water.
Yeah. Not with other detergents.
Jon Moeller, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for this presentation. Thank you for sharing your passion for innovation and your passion for investment in the future. I really appreciated hearing about the physical laws of the economic universe. I think I'd like to have a follow-up question about that sometime, Jon. But again, we share your passion for investment in the future, Jon, and we think that planting seeds for a future harvest makes a lot of sense, right, Maddie? And as a token of our appreciation for your presentation, we'd like to present you with this Rotary Club of Cincinnati coin. On one side, it says the Rotary Club of Cincinnati, and on the other is the four-way test. And the four-way test is our ethical touchstone through which we live our motto, service above self. And in addition, we're going to make a donation to the End Polio Now campaign, which is a 4-decade effort to eradicate wild polio from the planet, and we are this close. And we just need some energy for the final push. So again, let's give Jon Moeller a big round of applause. Let's get a picture, Jon. Thank you. We have one meeting, the Board of Directors, in the Julep Room at 1:30. Next week, we have John Cunningham, the Athletic Director of the University of Cincinnati. Until then, make it a great week. Meeting adjourned.